Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to On Your Mental. This is the podcast that shares candid, open, and sometimes vulnerable conversations between and about men. I'm one of the co-hosts, Ruben. The other co-host this week is not here, Kabir, but I am joined by an amazing guest, Ryan Ewart, and he is talking about his experience dealing with all kinds of ups and downs with mental health, addiction, overcoming all of that, and coming out on the other side of it with a new perspective on life. I think y'all are really going to enjoy this. I loved getting to sit here and listen to Ryan, and there's a lot that I think you'll be able to take away from this episode. No matter who you are and what you're going through, maybe you're not going through anything at all, there's still something to get from this. So if you like this week's episode, leave a like, comment, subscribe, stick around for some more, and we'll see you in a second when the episode starts. Peace. Welcome, Ryan. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to On Your Mental.
Thanks for having me.
We talked about actually last week you being here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were sitting down with Connor Amity, talking Ironmans and crazy shit. And
he can run,
dude. Yeah, he can run. He can cycle. He can swim.
Yeah.
He can do it all. We were talking about you coming on. We were talking about you with Tim as well. Tim was in the week beforehand, Tim Butler, and we've been looking forward to having you. I'm saying we, but I'll take a second to address that it's not we this week. It is just you and I.
Yeah.
And that's because for our audience, Kabir is injured. This is actually funny. Last week in our episode with Connor, towards the end of the episode, I asked Kabir about feeling strong physically, how that ties to like feeling strong mentally.
Yeah.
And if there's like a sense of needing to be strong mentally because you look so strong physically. He ended up talking about how like his physical wellness obviously ties in a lot to his mental wellness. And he says when he has this recurring injury coming back once in a while, that it often puts him down a little bit, knocks him down a notch. A week later, here's the recurring injury back again. So sorry, Kabs, sorry you're out. And everybody who is a fan of the podcast, I mean, if you leave a comment, say that you miss him or something.
Yeah.
If nobody says anything in the comments about Kabir, we all just know that you all hate Kabir, and I'm good with that too, whatever it is. But I appreciate you, Ryan, being cool to come and still sit down with me and just do a little one-on-one.
We're just having a chat, right?
Yeah, of course.
It sucks he's not here, but it's funny that, obviously it sucks that he's injured, but talking about the idea of like being physically strong and how that plays into mental and your mentality and well-being, right? That's huge for me. And I've been in his position, and honestly, moments I jump back to that, not by choice, but by life, whether it be yesterday at work. I was getting out of an excavator, and I'm not an operator. I can operate, but I'm not an operator.
He's not an operator.
I'm not an operator. And I step on something with muddy boots and biff it, like eat it hard, and like have a bruise on my arm from like I fell on wire, and then anyways, there's this whole thing.
Yeah.
But my mind, like my response trigger, if you will, jumps right back to those times where it was car accidents, I couldn't work, or physically injured, hurt my knee, put out, mentally out, I'm down, right? So,
your work life flashed before your eyes there.
Work life flashed before my eyes, but just like my life flashed before my eyes, because where I am today versus where I was when a couple of those major injuries happened, completely different, complete 180, right? And
like the dependency on your work too, right? And how involved you are with it.
That too. That's a huge part, and like it is a very large part of my life. My partner would argue a little bit too much a part of my life, but and like that was like it just automatically was that response. I was like, holy. I was like, this is crazy. This isn't a good way to start.
Please
today.
don't get worse. Yeah.
So
man, and you've before we were talking here and recording, you said something about a shoulder thing too, right? Like that's been something that's like plagued you a little bit over time.
Yeah, and it's been like a very like long lasting injury that I thought I fixed, and then it came back, but we don't know what it is.
Right.
Where on
Sounds like Kabs.
We're probably on year 1.5 now.
Yeah.
And I know that may sound short to those people out there that have very long lasting injuries trying to get to the root of the problem. But what started in my elbow that we thought was like golfer's elbow came out to now sharp shooting pains to my pinky. Okay, so we were like ulnar nerve.
Yeah.
Originates in the neck. Maybe there's a pinch. Went there, got scans and ultrasound of here, my pectoral. Oh, it might be this. No, it's not that. And now in like a week and a half, I finally have a neurology appointment at St. Paul's where I'm going to go get who knows what test done.
Right. And how conclusive will it be? And
I'm like, sorry, it's my elbow, it's my shoulder. And they're like, you know what, let's start here and then work our way back. I'm like, okay, so this could be a brain thing, right? I'm like, what are we doing here? But it's
and there wasn't like a thing that started it. There wasn't like a moment where you were like, oh fuck, like I just injured it there.
Dislocated my shoulder a bunch, like playing volleyball a couple times and lacrosse, like when I played when I was younger. And it was just how I first noticed it was whether it was like bench press or shoulder press or anything in the gym, because when like I like to work out. I'm not no bodybuilder, but I like to be healthy and I like to work out, right? And anytime I would do a press, it's like this one could go. I'm right dominant though. This one could go, and then all of a sudden this would just fail.
Right.
But it wasn't my chest, it wasn't my pec failing. It was like my arm just gave.
Right.
And I was I guess I'm broken. Right? But that's where it is like the physicality part of it. My mind automatically jumps to the worst thing. And I'm like, you're weak. You'll never be where you want to be. That self-talk just
those are
like
huge leaps too.
Dude. All of a sudden not being able to rep out. You know? And it's like I get it. Like I miss him dearly. I was looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah.
But it's like I get it. It is very tough. And the people that deal with it understand it to the degree that they've experienced it, but the people that haven't dealt with it, it's like
it just seems like an injury.
Right.
Like you're gonna recover. You're fine. Like that's just a physical thing.
And that's okay too. And that's where like I've gone to that place where that person might have that thought, oh, it's just an injury, or oh, it's just a car, but it's this thing, right? Whereas before I'd be like, it's almost like how dare you not recognize my pain or validate my pain.
How do you not get me right now?
But now it's like, it's all good. They have their thoughts. I have mine. The world's going to rotate. We're good. Right. So
we miss you, Kabs. So too bad you're not here, man.
Basically long-winded thing till we miss you.
Yeah. I'm happy that I could sit down with you too here, Ryan. I'm looking forward to it. And for some little background for how I like first heard you speak and talk to you, we met at the Whiskey Turtlenecks event, which is where we also met Tim, where we also met Connor, and Kabir and I were talking for you a little bit there before you ended up going up being one of the people speaking on the panel. I didn't realize you were going to, and we were just talking. It's like, oh shit, he's up there. But you were telling us like personally about your story, but then also telling the whole group of guys there a little bit about your story and what you've gone through mental health wise. And I think it's such an important thing for people to hear, especially for anybody who like might have even a small bit of like what you went through. You know what I mean? Someone who might be feeling not great about where their life is at some point, right? When you hear other people who've gone through that and made it out the other end of it, that's huge. Right. And that's what I want to hear more of today. So I don't want to talk too much here, but I will ask questions throughout it. And as much as you want to share, that's cool. But maybe give us a little bit of an idea of what you've been through and kind of what kind of point you hit and where mental health has taken you in your life so far.
Big question, but if we really want a full picture, like I'll do the full picture. Mental health for me, to be completely honest with you, it started when I was like 6 or 7.
That's young. to be aware of it.
I wasn't though. That's the thing. And the reason why I say it like that is when I was probably 6 or 7, let's say start, to probably about 9 or 10, maybe into 12 at the latest, is when 7 years old or so, when my parents would go out, or my dad would go away on business, because he works for a Canadian company, national food sales rep. And at that time when I was young, he looked over or had reps from basically here, BC, all the way out to Ontario, right? So he traveled a lot. There was trade shows. He was in food service, so they're a little bit more frequent than, like, I don't know, plant shows, or I don't know. Who knows? Right?
Yeah,
Who
something
knows,
that's
right?
a bit more seasonal.
Some other industry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I jumped to plants, but it's because these plants are beautiful.
And then they're also fake.
I know, and that's the thing, right? It's like, anyways, fake plant trade shows.
Yeah.
But so
he's moving. Yeah.
When he was traveling all the time or whatever, I would get really nervous. I would freak out. It was just me and my mom for the bit, and then Shelby came into the world. She's my sister, and my sister was so little, and it's not like I could talk to her. But even if I could, what would I say? Because I don't even know what I was experiencing.
You're so young,
and that is the whole start of the chaos. So my mom would either wake up to me having these terrors, or come upstairs if she was doing her thing in the kitchen and I was already in bed or whatever. And finally it was just to a point, it was like, what we don't know what's going on with Ryan. He's not like giving off these signs where he is like super depressed, disengaged from other kids, like wanting to isolate, anything like that. It was more just when I was alone, or when my parents were away, or my dad was away, this crazy anxiety would come. I would think the worst things. Dad's plane's gonna crash. All these things, and they may be more common for kids, for sure, but mine was like that next level.
It was serious.
And
you believed it.
I believed it. I was like, call Dad right now. Like, Dad's not it was like, it was my being. And what happened was, finally got to a point, seeing my doctor at the time, just normal checkups, that she was like, you should try this lady. Her name was Dr. Tracy. And to this day, like, Dr. Tracy brought me, in that time in my life, nothing but peace and understanding. But it wasn't her, even though she was so calming. It was what we talked about. And I always feel a little bit weird if I've only spoken about this one other time, but I sort of feel like a little bit soft when I talk about it, because, and the reason is because it was taming my dragons. It makes sense for a kid that's how they explain it. But now if I was to sit down with 26-year-old Ryan and be like, you're going to tame your dragons, I'd be like, what the fuck?
What are you talking about? Let's get real.
Sit down, dog. Right. So anyways, at that time, that's where it all really started. And I worked on taming my dragons, and I didn't have to go to therapy for quite a long time. And then, high school, or elementary school, high school, life, sports, what have you. And then when I was 16 years old was when all of a sudden I just hit this wall where I didn't like me, and sure, there might have been external reasons for that. I was bullied severely. Physically, physically and emotionally, right? But it's not just my story. I know there's so many other people, and that's why I'm such like an advocate, or like when kids are going through a tough time, I'm like just talk to me, like I'm all ears, right?
It's so easy as a kid to think that you're going through this alone. Yeah. Right? That other people don't have like no idea what's going on with me. You know what I mean? You can't understand what I'm going through. But a lot of people can.
A lot of people can, but everyone's thinking about it that way because they don't want to, like, I'll revert back to the doesn't want to seem weak, right? Because we're young men.
That too.
We have this idea of what we should be, or those guys are that. and they're around the girls, or they're good at the sports, but they're like that, but I'm feeling this. So when I was about 16, I tried to take my own life. Thank God it didn't work. And that was my first suicide attempt. Had no idea what I was doing, had no idea what I wanted the outcome to be.
Right.
All I knew was that I didn't want to feel this anymore. So after that, scaring the shit out of my parents, hospitalization, being detained or held, I guess, for a little bit of time.
Because you have to be watched.
Yeah, you got to be looked at, and you got to talk to some people. And luckily for me in that moment, it wasn't like a full psych hold. It was only about 36 hours. Can
I ask, like,
yeah,
and I don't mean to interrupt your story at all, but
no,
like,
go ahead.
What did that feel like? Like coming, like not the attempt. I'm not asking what that felt like, but asking, like, being in a position afterwards and having these people watching you and being in that kind of environment. Like, what did that feel like?
Well, to be completely honest with what I did, I was pretty disconnected with what I was experiencing, but I was also there, if that makes sense. Like, there was a part of me that was like groggy and out of it and coming to, but there was another part of like trying to wrap my head around what I just tried to do and what I really wanted out of it.
Yeah.
Right? I ultimately didn't want to be Ryan anymore. Does that mean that in that moment I really wanted to die?
Right.
I think so. And that's why I tried to act on and do the things I did. But maybe I was just looking for a shift or a change or a pivot, right? And the environment itself, it was very clinical because I was in a hospital, a bed, and nurses and people checking on me, giving me medication, IV this, eat this food off of a brown section plate with whatever fork. That's a soft fork because you're not going to kill yourself with the fork. You know what I mean? It's all stuff. I got socks with a smiley face on it though. And that's how you know you've made it.
That's it.
They're grippy socks, dog. I'm telling you. I'm pretty, nowhere to lie, Ruben.
This isn't rock bottom. This is the peak.
I'm pretty sure they're still in my dresser somewhere. And it sounds fucked that I kept them, but it's weird.
No,
it's a weird thing to look at, but
I would keep it. I feel like, does it remind you?
Yo, they're grippy as hell.
We're picking up what he's putting down.
But it does ultimately. But the thing is I don't have them out there that I see them all the time. It's a very random, if I'm moving things around or my OCD acts up and all of a sudden I want to reorganize everything in my closets or my dressers. But it was a weird thing. But it was hard because coming out of that and being released and seeing the look on my mom's face.
Can't imagine.
It's crazy. And the worst part about it is that's not the only time that I got to see that look on my mom's face. And we'll get there. But that's like, that was the hardest part. Because like my mom's my girl. Like, like we are tight. Like, she gets me. I can look at her and she can look at me and she can know where I'm at.
It's a crazy skill moms have.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Whereas like my dad, for the longest time, my dad and I didn't have the best relationship either. And it was, I'm able to look at it now and say it wasn't just him. It wasn't just me. It was not a joint effort, but it was a misunderstanding of communication types or abilities and so on, right?
In a way, do you feel like it was like a mismatch of ways to kind of express love to one another?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. My dad wanted nothing more than to just love me and me be his little guy. But as I grew up, I grew apart from that and I saw him as an enemy. But ultimately being able to take a look at myself and my defects and where I was able to process through that and recognize my part in it. Right.
I'm no doctor. I'm no psychologist. I'm nothing like that. But it's funny, like hearing you, not funny. It's interesting to me hearing you say that when you were really young, that 6 to 7 when it started, and you would get those major anxiety, would you call it an anxiety attack, or like who knows what it was, a panic attack when
anxiety attacks, yeah.
your dad's gone away, right? Like that to me says like, oh, like there's like a real affection there for him, but then something happened as you were growing up, and you saying that you felt as though he was your enemy, like that would be crushing.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't have a dad. I grew up just me and my mom, and so like I can't imagine my relationship with my mom breaking down. You know, I would be devastated. I'd feel so lost. And then you having your dad, like that's your number one father figure. It's your number one male representative, male role model in your life, right? And for him to be seen as an enemy, God, man.
And it's ultimately like what it was, if we're to boil it down, is as I grew up, I wanted to be like, essentially I want to isolate, right, as I got older. And that's where like the whole evaluation of oneself, I got to figure that out. I didn't know why, but it's ultimately because I wasn't enjoying who I was at that moment. I was getting severely bullied, but I didn't want to talk about it. I was still doing lacrosse. I was still doing volleyball. I was still doing all these things. But for some reason, anytime he chimed in for homework or this or that, he was like, I was like, fuck off. Like, I don't want any of it. Right. Yeah. And probably around 16, especially after I tried to take my own life for the first time, that was when that ultimately really started. But it's because my dad, like, I love him to death. Like, he is such a good man, but his ability to communicate does not align with how I communicate. So sometimes it would get misinterpreted or skewed or whatever, or I think he's being harder on it.
Confrontational.
But ultimately, I was living in self-pity, right? So after that is when that really accelerated. And then, you know, I faked it till I made it. I grew up in high school and, you know, graduated, had a good paying job, was a lifeguard, swim instructor for a long time, got into bartending, all those things, and was making good money, thought I was making good choices, but I ultimately still wasn't happy. Like I had different girlfriends throughout those times. Was I the best boyfriend in those moments? No, right? But it's I want to say it's part of the process, but there's definitely parts of it that I didn't have to experience on my end. I didn't have to be that person, right?
It's hard though. Like I get what you're saying. Like those are accidental casualties in the progression of your own like development. You know what I'm saying? But to be able to look back and acknowledge and understand that maybe there were parts of you that weren't great.
Oh yeah.
To other people in your life even, but you can't blame yourself, you know what I mean, at all, given what it sounds like you were going through. Yeah. And you just have to hope that the people can forgive and understand that you were going through what you were, and it sucks that they got caught up in that perhaps.
And you know what I even think too is, especially if we were to like touch on the relationship part of it a little bit, it wasn't so much actually what I was going through like mentally, right? It was a byproduct of it.
Like not directly it.
So this is where I dissect it.
Sure.
It's funny because sometimes I get very analytical about it, but the reason is it helps me understand. And for the longest time, I just want to understand. What I mean by the byproduct part of it is through my state where I was at, my actions would either help that state or it would actually, it'd be negative consequences. And from that would lead or guide me to almost more negative actions. Right. Or words, damage, all those things. So it wasn't so much that in that, like when I was probably 17, 18, 19, I was pretty good. 18, 19 for sure. I was pretty good. I was just living life. But for some reason I was still shitty in moments, right? And that's where I'm like, okay, especially after the last little bit, being able to look at it was just my defects that like I didn't know were there because I was just Ryan. But throughout that time, getting older, I start to slip back into like that mental state of like, I just wasn't happy, but I would get out of bed. I'd be on time for work. I would work out. I would do all those things, but I wasn't happy.
Right.
And, that will sort of like fast forward a little bit to, let's call it April, May 2020. That's when so around that period is probably, let's call it a few months prior to that. It's when life started to like really not get good. Right. And, in that moment I lost a girl that I've been with for quite a long time. She left me. I lost a job. I wasn't doing who Ryan was. I was doing who Ryan thought he wanted to be in that time. But over probably the year and a half, 2 years leading up to that, so like we're talking like 21, 22, 23, 21, 22, sorry. And like I gained a bunch of weight. I was doing things I couldn't talk about. I wasn't the guy that was raised with the moral values that my family raised me to be. And
it's a major identity crisis, man.
On top of that is like, that's when I slipped into my active addiction. And that's a huge part of my mental health story, or me, right? It's a big piece of my puzzle.
Right.
And mental health aside, like that was one little thing or one large thing actually, but I was okay in moments. I had those lows. It was almost like the normal ups and downs that people experience, but for me sometimes they're accelerated in one way or the other. But then we mix in the substance, drug and alcohol abuse, and me saying that I don't have a problem, I'm good, and lying to people, lying to my partner at the time about what I was doing, how often I was doing it. Oh no, I'm just tired with a headache. All those lies, they caught up.
Yeah.
And finally, through my actions of me not treating her right, me lying to myself, lying to my family, whatever, she decided to exit, right? And then let's compile that on top of me just struggling with this mental health for years, being diagnosed with things, trying medications, them not working, them making it worse, me giving up on medications. Like, I know that was one thing that you guys and Tim actually talked about, was medications and the stigma and everything around it. So I was that guy that would be prescribed these things, try it, not reap the benefits,
right,
shove it to the side. How dare those doctors, all those things.
Right.
Whereas I know people that have tried, accepted the failure,
got one that worked.
Their life has changed.
Yep.
And at that very moment too, like I was also like undiagnosed ADHD my whole life. Right. So then it's funny because once I got that diagnosis and I accepted it 5 years after that diagnosis, right, and I tried medication, that medication has changed my life. Wow. So I'm curious if we could rewind.
Yeah.
If I gave different medications a shot, would it have changed my trajectory?
Interesting.
But the thing is I can't rewind and I can't look at the past. I can just accept it. Right? I can't rewrite it.
That's a good point.
So
that's the only way to look at it.
Right? But in that moment, dude, I would look on the past like I gotta change it. But I couldn't. You know what I mean? It was so hard for me to accept that. So with that, like it's crazy to think back, right? Like the reflection is a huge part of it. But back to the linear explanation around that time period. That's when I made a serious effort. Like I tried to kill myself.
This is the second time now.
This is the second time, right? And it was tough, man. It wasn't good. I tried to kill myself through substances. Not good. that was a roller coaster in and of itself. Thank God I didn't drop, right? Got brought into the hospital, erratic, out of my mind, psychotic break, just wanting to just kill myself. I just don't want to do it. And yeah.
I mean, coming out of all of what you went through there,
Yeah.
I can even understand like feeling so helpless.
That's what it was.
Or lost, and like just you where you thought you were going. And I get what you're saying of like, yeah, you weren't necessarily helping yourself through like unfortunately falling into a pattern with addiction and alcohol abuse. And yeah, those decisions don't help yourself, but still you're trying to make sense of your life. You know what I mean? You're still trying to navigate shit. And then to have all these major kind of lifelines ripped away from you, your partner, your job, right? Like that, fuck, man. Like, what do I do? I'm a young man. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to have shit figured out. I'm supposed to be good.
Yeah.
And that's all gone.
Yeah. It was crazy. That's the only thing is how I can explain it, right? And still like the thing is like I'm still trying to understand, but I've accepted it. And at that moment I accepted who I was. But ultimately that's where it led to the come up almost, right? I hate to call it that, but that's what it is. It's like where I was at my lowest there, right? And at that time, that look that I talked about with my mom is like I saw that on her face. Like it's
another
like,
time.
Who is my son? Like who is this guy? I was probably like 60 pounds heavier. I was flushed. The life was sucked out of me. You could look in my eyes and you would just see death. Like, and I wasn't healthy. I could barely breathe through my nose. Like my whole face was inflamed from the drug abuse. And on top of that, my body was just quitting, like cold sweats, all those things from the alcohol. And luckily, my family, I grew up playing lacrosse, and a family friend is a drug and alcohol doctor. He's been doing it for years. He's amazing. And,
like helping with addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, that's his specialty. He was a GP for the longest time, and he himself, like, he's in recovery years. Wow. Like just an OG, right? And my dad called him and was like, he was like, can you talk to my son? Right? And so he calls me one day and I see his name like on the caller ID. And I was like, what's up, doc? Like, just like we went skiing together. He carried me off the lacrosse floor when I broke my ankle when I was younger. Like, this guy was like a second dad to me. I was like, hey, what's up, doc? How you doing? He's like, I don't know. You tell me. And I was like, shit.
At that point, you didn't know that he knows.
No, I had a feeling. I was like, I literally said, I was like, did my dad call you? He's like, and so what if he did? And I was like, I don't really have a rebuttal for you right now. Like, I'm still coming down off this stuff. I'm like 3 days out trying to figure it out. What's up? He's like, I don't know. Do you want to change a pace? Like, do you want to try something different? Cause this isn't working, obviously. Right. And I was like, sure. Like, I guess, I don't know. I can't go back to that guy that sold me that dope, that was laced, that put me into that position. I can't go there. Like, what do you want me to do? I don't know. Right. So I got clean. And
that's a process.
I only made it 89 days, my first kick at the can. Wow. I fell a day short of my 90. And then I went back out and I relapsed, and I was out for about 5.5, 6 months. And that takes us to about February, I guess, of 2021. 'Cause like, what is it? Thursday? Tomorrow is my 2 years clean. Wow. Right?
Congratulations.
Thanks, dog. Yeah. So that's where the the substance abuse sort of overpowered like what I was struggling with mental health wise. It was just like it was substance abuse. But I ultimately think that they go hand in hand with one another, because when I got clean, this got a lot better.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So
substance can be a cloud.
It's crazy, man.
Right? And you gotta break through it. You gotta see on the other side of that, and and it's such a heavy cloud for people who are affected by it, right?
And it's possible, man. Like it breaks my heart. Like I see people struggling, friends that decide to go out, and I'm just like just come. Like, you know what it's like on that side, right? And those people that don't, I just want to give them what I have, right? Like
you have that different perspective now.
Yeah.
And do you feel like though that sometimes I do think that and we've said it on our podcast before, that you kind of need to learn lessons yourself sometimes. 100%. It can be very hard to take everything you hear for what it is immediately, right? It's hard to believe it all. And so there is a piece that I think, you got to learn your own lessons, but that's a dangerous lesson to play with, man. And like I can imagine being in the position you're in now, the perspective that you have now. Like if you see anybody going through something remotely similar to what you were going through, you're probably thinking, please fucking listen to me.
Yeah.
Hear me.
And it's not even like so much of like, listen to me, I'm telling you what to do, but it's more, all I can do is I can just share my experience. I can just tell you what happened to me and how I made a change. And hopefully one day that's attractive enough that you decide to try too.
Right.
Right. And, so almost 2 years ago, February, actually it would have been 2 years ago today.
Right.
Because that's when I picked up for the last time, or the 23rd, I guess would have been, would have been the last time I picked up, and I got some funky ass shit that wasn't what I thought. And it put me right back into a psychotic break.
Wow.
Dude, I ruined my house. Like my basement suite, I trashed it. I trashed my body. I broke my mom's heart. My girlfriend, like, she just walked out that door that day with her sister. I scared the living shit out of my sister.
I can imagine.
And dude, this is the thing. Like, I'm not sure if you're the same way, but if in my past, especially if I ever saw red or if I ever saw black, there's very few people that could break that. My sister is like the number one person. She couldn't. She looked at me in the face and was like, Ryan, like, be here with me. And I was gone. So
dangerous game, man.
Hospitalized. It is dangerous, man. And I did it for years, and I never thought it was a problem, right? And hospitalized, intervened, taken a treatment, everything gone for 18 days.
Wow. No
phone, no talking to my parents, a house full of 40 something guys that I'm supposed to trust.
Right.
Dog, I don't even trust myself.
Right.
Right. And that's sort of like, that's the whirlwind, I guess we could say, is the beginning and middle of my story. Right. And after that point, I could go through like the struggles I went through. Like the first 4 days, dude, I didn't want to be clean. I didn't know the point of it. I just wanted my girlfriend. I just want to see my mom. I just want to say I'm sorry to my sister, but I'm sorry wouldn't do anything. I need to fix me. And it took me months to get right, man. It took me months. And that was the beginning of my new life.
Right.
The life that I live today. That was just the beginning.
And that's the Ryan that I met.
That's the Ryan you met. You met that Ryan about, what is it, a year and a half into it, right? And throughout that period, I like periodically did a few things with Movember, like a panel here, this, there, met Mitch, was on cinnamon and oak the first year I got clean, right? And then this is the second year that I was a part of it. Raised a bunch of money the year before, raised a bunch more this year, but the money's great, don't get me wrong, but the shit we talked about and the brotherhood, like seeing each other,
that's the value, man.
That's the stuff that keeps people right. That's the stuff that saves people's lives. And these conversations, whether it's on a podcast or that night where you guys were drinking whiskey, I was drinking my soda water, but we were all rocking turtlenecks. Like shit, man. And it's like, that's the life that I never knew I could have. Because I was just so stuck. Right. And that's the thing, is like, anyone that feels stuck, anyone that feels broken, less than, not worthy, is a big one. Because I didn't think I should never get anything. I'm not worth it. That was my self-talk. Man, you are, and you can be, right? And that's like, that's the ticket almost that so many people fight, me being one of them. I fought that shit. But it's powerful as hell, man. And from that moment on, like, it was like mental health got better. Substance abuse was no longer an issue. I was just stacking days, stacking fobs, stacking months, taking a year, taking 2, you know. And it has allowed me to start to grow into the young man that I always thought I could be. Right.
But there was just so much telling you that you couldn't before.
Exactly. Whether it was my voice or other people's voices, the surrounding conditions, whatever you want to say it was, I could create every excuse under the sun or reason as to why I can't be that guy. Just took a little bit of learning.
And I guess that's a bit related to what I was saying earlier. It's like, you got to learn lessons for yourself, but at the same time, like, you need to be the one to identify what it is that's stopping you from getting to where you want to be. And in your case, it was an extreme. You know what I mean? Like, it was you got to the edge. And that's what it took for you to realize it. And then again, the 2 years ago from now, where you had this one more time and a bad incident with it, right? That is tough to have to go through all of that. I can only imagine having to go through all of that, and that be how you find out this is what's stopping me. You know what I mean? It's like, you can discover little bits about you and like understand, like, oh, like, maybe this is just a little bit of self-doubt, and you can try and work through those things. You can change some habits, you know what I mean? Like, do all like the cushy stuff that's easy and really tangible, or easier and tangible to deal with. But going through what you were going through, substance abuse, addiction, that is huge and hard to fight. That is hard to just switch off. Right. And I'm amazed that you did it. You know, you got there, you did it. But it's possible. It's possible for anybody going through, like you said, right?
I believe it. I truly do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why it's tough, right? Because it's like, you can only say, like, look at what I've been able to do. Right? But
it's that thing. Believe me.
Believe me. Just, hey, take a chance on yourself. Take a chance. And that's the thing. I'm like, I tell like some of my sponsees, like guys who I help walk through the program, walk through steps, try and guide them with my own experience, strength, and hope, right? Like, that's why I tell them, I'm like, do this shit once, straight up. Straight up, just do it once. Then tell me how it is. Because if you're going to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, that 1 foot out's going to take you right out. Right?
You got to go all in, like Connor says, man.
That's what it is. And that's the thing, man, is like, that night, Whiskey and Turtleneck night, like, I sat beside Connor. I just got chills because it Connor's great. Such a good looking lad too.
Son of a bitch. We said that.
It's crazy how good looking he is. But the passion
Mm-hmm.
through his voice and the drive, whether it be for mental health, whether it be for his family, whether it be for being the youngest guy to do an Ironman what is it? Six continents?
He's going for a 7th.
Oh, I know. I saw that.
Antarctica.
I saw that. I was
Crazy.
like, are you serious, man? But like, you look at him with starry eyes and it's just like, it's just passion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
your passion's different.
It's an unwavering belief that you're on the right path to be doing
That's exactly
something for you, going all in, like you said. But if we wanted to take that and I guess like bring your life and apply that to it, right? It's an unwavering belief that you do deserve to have a good life.
That's exactly it.
Right.
And that's what I mean is like that belief, it's hard to get there sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But once
you got it, man,
when you get it, you just eat it.
Yeah.
And you eat it every
Mm-hmm.
day, and you tell yourself it every day,
mm-hmm.
you know.
And that's the thing too. I can only imagine like you make it through that first day sober, you make it through that first week sober, you make it through that first month sober, right? And all of a sudden you're at a year, and now you're at 2 years.
Yeah.
Why the fuck wouldn't I be able to do it all again? Right? And you keep it going.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's just like you get into a rhythm, right?
Yeah.
Some people it's harder than others. For me, I try to understand, but you don't need to understand. You just need to follow the way that someone else did it and learn, but be willing.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's sort of like my story.
It's one hell of a story, man.
Somewhat laid out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could be here for hours if you really want to.
We want to get into every detail. Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell you about that time when I was, but like, that's the thing is like, that's my story.
Yeah.
And that's the route I took.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely wasn't the path of least resistance.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But everyone else has their own route.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like the similarities can cross in moments.
Yeah.
And, the one thing that I didn't mention, how I first really got into like the whole mental health and really like getting right, it was actually before I got clean. It was after like that April, May, like I randomly decided in June, I was like, I'm tired of feeling the way I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of feeling like I hate myself. I'm tired of feeling all these things, even though I was still struggling with substance abuse. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fix my mental health, but I'm not going to stop using, right? Because that's not the problem. It's my mental health.
Right. Because you weren't believing that that's the problem. Yeah.
So I decided to do a fundraiser for Movember through GoFundMe actually at that time. But it's like a birthday fundraiser. Raised crazy amounts of money in like 3.5, 4 weeks. It was nuts. But the shit that ultimately helped fix me, or the shit that like got me on that trajectory of like recognizing where I can fix myself, was when I got this out, like, cause I put my accounts public, all those things. So I got this outpouring response from people. I saw your story. My friend forwarded this. Hey, I'm this girl's cousin. Nice to meet you. I'm like 16, this or that.
This is what I'm going through.
Dude, it's like my inbox or like the DMs on Instagram, like it was crazy. It was like messages after messages, Facebook messages, random texts from people's numbers. And not gonna lie, it was heavy. Yeah. Because I took everyone else's stuff on. Yep. But that's when I realized that I don't need to fix them. I can't. I'm not. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Yeah. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. But what I can do is I can continue to share my story.
That's it.
And I can talk to them like a normal human being. A normal human. Hey, how's your day?
Because you're just looking to know that someone else feels anything of what you're going through.
That's it.
Right. And when you find that, or even if you just have someone who's going to listen to you talk about what they're going through, like that's what you fucking need. Right. Yeah. And that's why I think conversation is so important.
That's it.
You know, and even if you are just listening to this, you know what I mean, this is probably helpful. you know, for a lot of folks.
And that, yeah, it's like the conversations that's why it's like such a big thing too with like our group, like Cinnamon and Oak. Like it's like we did this, we hit these milestones. It's crazy, but the conversations. And when I did that, that's where I really experienced the value and the weight of the conversations. Yeah. And someone speaking to someone like a human being. Yeah. Because like, sure,
just being there.
I'm an addict. I'm a human being who struggles with the disease of addiction. Yeah. Right? But people don't see it as that.
They see the addict.
Yeah. Right? But I'm a human.
Yeah.
People struggling with mental health, crazy, deep depression, deep rooted, don't know why they feel this way. They're still a human. We're humans. Right? And
gotta look out for one another, man.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that's not as common as it used to be. Maybe. I wasn't around though. But that's what people say. Right? So it's like
we live a more isolated life sometimes.
We're able to change that though with stuff like this. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Create the right avenues for it. So frankly, Ryan, like your story is inspiring, man. And it's I don't know, I just listening to it, it's like it's not that it makes me think that my problems are small. It makes me think that when I do have problems, let's say I one day remember like, oh shit, like Ryan, I sat down and had a conversation with him. He went through so much and he came out and he's good. I'm going to be okay. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I'm like taking away from this. Like, yes, I love getting to hear your story and thank you for like being open and sharing everything, but you're like me, you know what I'm saying? It's like we're normal guys, we're normal people, we are just humans, and you made it through some really tough shit. I can make it through some tough shit if I got to deal with it. You know what I mean? So thank you. I got a couple like questions here to kind of steer us and get us towards the end of our conversation here in a little while too, but let's say you're where you're at your lowest. That would be a 1 on a scale of 1 to 5, right? I would imagine that would be a 1.
If it was any higher, that'd be worrisome.
Yeah, right. What the hell do I got coming? Yeah. Where would you say you are now on that scale of 1 to 5? If your lowest was a 1, because again, like I met a different Ryan, right? I met a Ryan who was at a much better place, and you seem like you're at a good place today. You know what I mean? Like when you come in here, we're talking, you're just talking about how busy you are with work and you just came back from a vacation. Like those are great things. You know what I mean? It's like, those are things to be thankful for. Yeah. You know, if you're having a busy work life, if you're stressed and tired from work, man, I've got a job and I've got people to talk to. Like that's great.
I know, right?
It's a good thing to be tired about, but where are you at? Where are you at on a scale of 1 to 5 now?
Can I put halves?
Of course, man.
Or like
put quarters.
0.25?
We used to do that shit. Yeah, for sure. We used to do these check-in episodes, and we still will at some point in the season. But we would rate our mental health, our work life, our personal life from 1 to 10. Okay. And people would put point whatevers, and it doesn't fucking matter. But yeah, 1 to 5. Where do you sit?
It's almost like to do that, I like gotta like think about like my lowest. This is just my process. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it to other people because it's tough, but it's like,
I think it's a good thing. Yeah. I think it's a good, because if you ignore if accepting is one thing, right? Yes. Accepting your past is one thing. You talked about that earlier. I think it's important to revisit it sometimes. Yeah. I think it's important to reflect and really sit in it for a sec and think about where you were. Yeah. Because then you get so much more perspective as to where you are now.
And that's what it is. It's like thinking back, put myself in that night. Mm-hmm. That was low. Yeah. That was not good. Yeah. But I honestly think if that was a 1 and our scale is to 5, 3.5.
3.5?
3.5.
Sure.
And the reason being, I feel great. Yeah. I love my life.
I like where this is going. I can tell where this is going. I feel like
I'm helping. I help other guys that are struggling, that are new to the program. Sponsorship is a big thing in my life. I have an amazing job. It's very busy and it takes a lot of my life, but I love it with my whole being. I have an amazing partner that was there from that night till now. She didn't leave. Thought about it, but she's there. My sister, my best friend for the longest time, and then throughout that stuff, left my life. She's back in my life. We're tight. I hired her. She works with me.
Nice.
My parents are just getting home from a trip in Costa Rica. They're living their life. They're free. They're free from this thought that their kid is going to die. Yeah. Right? But I'm not done.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I knew you were getting there. I could feel it.
Like,
yeah.
We're just warming up. I don't know where I'm going to be or what I'm going to accomplish or what I'm going to fail at. I don't know out there or when, but I just know that if I keep doing what I'm doing, life's just going to give me the gifts back. Right? And that doesn't need to be like money or monetary or gifts or this grand house or a bunch of kids. It's going to give me this purpose that I'm starting to experience.
And you deserve a good life.
That you deserve it, man.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, let's lock in 3.25.
3.25.
So between 3 and 3.5.
Split the difference.
Because I'm not done. I got a lot left. I got a lot of life. And I got a lot to learn, man. And
I love the way you answered that.
I'd say that's where that's my I'll lock it in.
3.25. Right? The lights changed.
Yeah, imagine. Next time we'll get the lights to change.
Man, I really like how you answered that question of the fact that you're not done. You're not finished, right? This is comparing where you were a couple years back now, right? To where you are now. Yeah, it's a lot better, right? And to me, it's like I see you as this like very positive person, and you're so open, and you are reflective, and you are thoughtful of what you've been through, and I guess just mindful of it all. But to you, you know that there's more. You now have that mindset of I deserve a good life, and I'm going to keep working towards that, and who knows what else is going to come.
And the biggest thing is like working towards it. Like before I would do little, but expect a lot, like especially before I got well, like, oh, mom, dad, like, let's buy a house together. Like, let's do an investment together, this or that. But I just thought that they would be down because like I had a little bit of money, you know, all those things. But I was out of my mind. My dad probably looked at me and was like, this kid is out to lunch, right? Yeah. But that's the thing, is that's where I was, right? But yeah, now it's like work is like working hard or like looking at something that I want and understanding the path to attain it. Let's get to work.
And understanding that there is a path. You know, that's the other thing too, is like you're okay with the fact that something is going to take work to get there, but it's not impossible anymore. You know, it's not that it's out of the realm of what can occur in your life, you know, which is great.
And like, will I ever do 6 Ironmans on 6 different continents?
No.
Probably not.
Maybe.
But that's the type of thing, is like anything really is possible.
That's like it's not off the table.
No.
Right? You have that idea now of like, well, what if I did?
Exactly. Yeah. But I have a friend that has done that. So I'm checked off.
Yeah. I'm not gonna try. You don't need to. Someone else in my life has got this. I can tell their story.
I'll let him tell it, and about all the training and stuff. And I'll explain how I'm never going to ever put myself through that. Because it's crazy. It's amazing, man. And the people insane. We have met just through that group alone. The humans, oh dude, like they are such good people. Like one of the guys, I'm just gonna shout him out, James.
Like the videographer, James
Bakes.
Yeah.
He's amazing with his craft. He has a heart of gold, and it makes sense why him and Mitch got close and met at that one thing, and everything grew. And yeah, dude, like every time I talk to him, it's just like he's just such a good person,
Mhm.
and he cares about each of us and his family and his friends. Like, he just cares. And those are the type of people that I love having in my life now, right?
Mhm.
The relationships I've built, they're real.
Mm-hmm. You got me looking forward to Movember again this year already.
Oh, dude, I always look forward to it. Or
Mhm.
even like the little things here or there. Hey, do any lads want to go do the bite? Like,
Yeah, someone's got to set that up. So man.
crazy. Or like the cold dips and all that stuff. It's just like, it's just the friendship, man. It's like, people are good.
Yeah,
Like,
people are good. People are
good people.
And you're good, Ryan. Last question for me. And
Oh, come on, we got hours.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
The thing I want to know is, and this I guess ties into perspective, right? And where you are now and how you can look back. And you kind of mentioned something along these lines earlier, but the question for you is, if you could talk to yourself at your lowest, what would you say about where you are now?
About where I am now?
What would you say about anything? About what they're going through? That Ryan, anything. What would you say to yourself then?
It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You tugging on the strings right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're okay, man.
It's hard because before I really got well, I already started doing something that was outside of my comfort zone, and I tried something different. If I could go back and be this guardian of this guy, of this kid that was struggling, I would say, let someone in. Like, take a chance, right? That was my big thing, was I took a chance and I got vulnerable for 6 minutes on a video, 7 minutes on a video, right before I went out for like brunch with my family.
Right. This is for your birthday.
No, it was when I dropped the video, so it was about a month and a bit before. So I recorded that, like, and my family was like, we'll be in the car. I was like, give me 5.
Yeah.
And I just spat my story and just like, what's up, pressed end and whatever. I would tell that Ryan to take a chance and just let someone in. And if that doesn't work and it comes back to bite you in the ass, try again. Because with that medication that I was saying, I just tried once and I was like, this is never going to work for me. What if I shared that video and did that fundraiser and there was negativity rather than the positivity, right? I'm not sure what would have come from that. Would I have ever tried again? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. But I took a chance and something good came from it. So it's like, if I tried when I was 18 or 19 and I asked for help and I was like, I don't want to feel like this. Or, hey, someone, this is how I feel. Not a doctor or anything, but just another human. Like, doctors are humans, so I gotta correct that.
But I get what you're saying.
Sorry, docs, love you. But if I just said to someone that this is me right now, and they just listened, would my story change a bit? I'm not sure. Would it make the pain a little less in moments? Very well could have been, because some of those people that took a chance on me by reaching out when I did that, helped them momentarily, right? And like, it's a crazy full circle when I think about it, because when I did Movember this year, a mom whose kids I taught swimming lessons to when I was 16, 17 years old, donated and then messaged me on Facebook or something and was like, this is what's going on. or actually, you know what's funny is she bought a little coffee table or something for me when I moved from New West to back to Cloverdale.
Sure.
We were talking outside or whatever, and then she sort of alluded to the fact that one of her kids wasn't doing too well or whatever. And later on, she messaged me like a couple weeks down the road, and I gave her my number, and I was like, tell him to text me. I taught this kid how to do a freaking front float or a back float or blow bubbles, right? Like, this kid has grown up now, right?
He's not doing swimming lessons anymore.
Not doing swimming lessons, right? He's in high school, and he's going through all those things that, like, I went through. Right?
Yeah.
And he took a chance. He messaged me.
Imagine if you had done the same.
Right?
Yeah. And
like, we've had conversations. We got to go for coffee. We got to connect, right? But like, that's the type of thing is like, Ryan, take a chance, man. I was so scared.
Yeah.
People are scared, and it's okay to be scared, but we don't got to do it alone, man. Like, you don't got to suffer in silence. Right. And it's tough to scream from the balcony, I need help, or I don't feel right. It's hard, but you don't need to scream.
We're not asking you to do that.
You don't need to scream.
Yeah.
Just pick a person, pick 2 people, take a chance.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I would say. And secondary to that is, I don't think, like, it doesn't matter if it would have changed my trajectory. Because ultimately, how life went about for me is I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
How I got here, it's a story, right? But this breath, I'm supposed to take that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the shit that is like, hits home.
Right.
Right?
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, thanks.
That's beautiful. I don't want to take away from that at all. So I'll let us kind of wrap up here, man. Take a chance, because when you do look back at, I agree with you. Like, if you're looking back, it's not that you're looking back to change something. It's looking back to see, like, okay, if I was finding myself in a similar situation again, what would I do?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Maybe if you want to romanticize it and put it into a question like this of, if I were talking to my younger self, what would I say? But that's going to be talking to your future self too. Right? If somehow you find yourself in a position where you are feeling down again, less than a 3 3.25, whatever you're at out of 5 right now. 3.25.
Yeah.
If you're feeling less than that, take a chance. Take a chance when you need to and find a way out. But yeah, Ryan, thank you for sharing everything today, man. I really appreciate it. It's just so cool, like, getting to have these talks, man. I love this shit. I love getting to have these conversations with people, and I like being able to sit down with someone like you and like really just take a minute and like get to experience a bit of your life. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm getting from this, and it's huge. It's huge, and I know that our audience will like this one too. But yeah, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Of course,
this was,
of course.
Yeah, this was sweet.
Yeah. Everybody who listened and watched, I hope you all liked this week's episode. I enjoyed the conversation, of course, as I'm saying. But leave a comment, whatever. If you got questions for Ryan, right, just drop it in there. Who knows?
Yeah.
And Kabs will be back next week. We'll see. Hopefully.
He'll only be back if you subscribe. So.
Yeah, that's the one. There you go. Right? Subscribe as well. Yeah. We will see y'all next week with another episode. Peace.